The wrestling world has been shattered. And if you think WWE is going to handle this tragedy with the respect and dignity it deserves, you're about to be absolutely disgusted by what's actually happening behind the scenes right now. What I'm about to reveal will make your blood boil, and it's going to change everything you thought you knew about how this company operates when real tragedy strikes. Dominik Mysterio is gone. The son of a legend, a rising star in his own right, and a human being who touched countless lives has been taken from us in the most sudden and heartbreaking way possible. But while the wrestling community mourns, while Liv Morgan breaks down in tears, while Rey Mysterio struggles to even breathe through his grief, WWE executives are in boardrooms right now discussing how to capitalize on the emotional investment of the audience. You heard that right. They're turning a young man's death into a business opportunity, and I have the receipts to prove it. Before we dive into the heart-wrenching details of how Dominik's sudden passing has affected everyone from Liv Morgan to the entire locker room, let me tell you something that's going to make you absolutely furious. While families are grieving, while wrestlers are trying to process this unimaginable loss, WWE's corporate machine is already spinning this tragedy into storyline possibilities. Sources close to the creative team have told me that within hours of Dominik's passing, there were already discussions about how to honor his memory, in ways that would drive viewership and merchandise sales. They're not just exploiting his death, they're treating it like another plot twist in their twisted corporate narrative. And Liv Morgan? The woman who had been building a real connection with Dominik both on screen and off. She's been told by management that her emotional authenticity in the coming weeks could be career-defining for her character development. They're literally coaching her on how to grieve for maximum audience impact. This isn't just disrespectful, it's absolutely sickening. And if you're not outraged by this, then you're part of the problem that's destroying the soul of professional wrestling. Let me paint you a picture of what Liv Morgan has been going through, because the sanitized version you're seeing on WWE programming is nothing compared to the raw, devastating reality of her grief. According to multiple sources within the company, Liv hasn't just been crying, she's been inconsolable for days. The woman who usually lights up every room she enters has been found sobbing in empty hallways, unable to even look at the ring where she and Dominik had shared so many moments together. Her scheduled appearances have been quietly cancelled, not because of creative decisions, as WWE claims, but because she literally cannot function right now. And here's what's going to make you absolutely livid: WWE management has been pressuring her to channel her grief into her character work and suggesting that this tragedy could be the breakthrough moment her career has been waiting for. They've actually told her that audiences connect with authentic emotion, and that her pain could translate into compelling television. Can you believe the audacity? A young woman is mourning the loss of someone she cared about deeply, and these corporate vultures are circling, trying to figure out how to turn her tears into ratings gold. This is why wrestlers burn out, why they develop substance abuse problems, why they eventually turn their backs on an industry that sees them as nothing more than content-generating machines. But it gets worse. Much worse. What WWE doesn't want you to know is that the entire locker room is in revolt right now. Veteran wrestlers who have seen decades of corporate callousness are saying this is the final straw. Rey Mysterio, who's dealing with the unimaginable grief of losing his son, walked into a creative meeting yesterday and was presented with a tribute storyline that would run for several months and culminate in a celebration of life match at WrestleMania. Rey's response? He threw the script across the room and told the creative team exactly what they could do with their celebration of life exploitation. Sources say he screamed at executives that they were dancing on his son's grave, and that he would rather retire than be part of their sick marketing scheme. And he's not alone. Multiple wrestlers have been refusing to participate in any storylines that reference Dominik's passing. They're calling it grief washing, the practice of using real tragedy to add authenticity to manufactured drama. The locker room is more unified than it's been in years, but it's unified in disgust at how their workplace is handling this crisis. But here's the part that's going to make your blood boil: WWE management is threatening wrestlers with suspensions and future booking punishments if they don't participate in their tribute programming. They're literally holding people's careers hostage to force them to exploit their dead colleagues' memory. This is corporate sociopathy at its absolute worst, and it's happening right now while the wrestling world mourns. While WWE spins their public relations machine into overdrive, the Mysterio family is going through absolute hell in private. And the company's response to their grief has been nothing short of monstrous. Rey Mysterio hasn't just lost his son, he's being pressured to perform his grief for public consumption. Angie Mysterio, Dominik's mother, has been bombarded with requests for interviews, photo shoots, and exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the family's mourning process. WWE's media team has actually suggested that the family's grief could be powerful content for their documentary division. They want to film the funeral. They want to mic up family members during their most vulnerable moments. The requests are so invasive and inappropriate that the family has had to hire security to keep WWE cameras away from their home. Think about that for a moment. A grieving family has to protect themselves from the very company that employed their son because that company sees their pain as a business opportunity. And Dominik's girlfriend, who has been conspicuously absent from all WWE programming since his passing. She's been offered money, substantial money, to appear in tribute segments and share intimate memories of their relationship. When she refused, citing her need to grieve privately, WWE's response was to threaten legal action over her failure to fulfill media obligations that were supposedly part of Dominik's contract. This is beyond disgusting. This is corporate evil in its purest form. But perhaps the most infuriating aspect of this entire situation is WWE's systematic campaign to cover up their exploitation while presenting themselves as a grieving corporate family. Their public statements are masterpieces of manipulative language, designed to make them look compassionate while they're actually behaving like vultures. Every press release, every social media post, every public appearance by WWE executives has been carefully crafted to hide the fact that they're treating Dominik's death as a content goldmine. They're using words like honor, legacy, and tribute, while their actions behind the scenes are the complete opposite of honoring anything. The most sickening example. WWE's merchandising division has already produced, in memory of Dominik Mysterio, t-shirts, replica championship belts with his name engraved on them, and special edition action figures. They're literally selling a dead man's image while his family is still planning his funeral. And when wrestling journalists started asking questions about the appropriateness of grief merchandising, WWE's response was to threaten to revoke media credentials and ban reporters from future events. They're not just exploiting tragedy, they're actively suppressing anyone who tries to expose their exploitation. This is why independent wrestling journalism is so important. This is why channels like WrestlingNewsCC exist. Because someone has to tell the truth when the corporate machine is working overtime to hide it. The impact of Dominik's passing and WWE's disgusting response to it has created shockwaves throughout the entire company that go far beyond just the immediate grief. Wrestlers are questioning whether they want to work for a company that treats human tragedy as a business opportunity. Staff members are looking for new jobs. Even some executives are reportedly uncomfortable with how far the company is willing to go. Liv Morgan's situation has become a rallying point for wrestlers who are fed up with being treated like emotionless content generators. Her genuine grief has highlighted how artificial and manufactured most WWE emotion really is, and it's making everyone question whether they're artists or just corporate puppets. Several wrestlers have quietly reached out to competitors like AEW, not necessarily to jump ship, but to have options if WWE continues down this path of exploitation. The locker room morale is at an all-time low, and it's not just because of the tragedy, it's because of how the tragedy is being handled. But here's what's really going to shock you, WWE management sees this locker room unrest as another storyline opportunity. They're actually considering working the real behind-the-scenes tension into their programming, turning genuine workplace dissatisfaction into entertainment content. They want to create a reality-based storyline where wrestlers are rebelling against corporate exploitation, while they're actually rebelling against corporate exploitation. It's layers of meta-manipulation that would be impressive if it weren't so morally bankrupt. Outside of WWE's toxic corporate environment, the broader wrestling community has been responding to Dominik's passing with the genuine love and respect that the company itself has failed to show. Independent wrestlers who never even met Dominik have been dedicating matches to his memory. Wrestling schools have been holding moment of silence tributes. Fans have been creating grassroots memorial campaigns. But even these authentic displays of grief are being monitored and potentially exploited by WWE's marketing team. They're tracking which tribute posts get the most engagement, which hashtags are trending, which emotional responses generate the most social media interaction. They're studying the wrestling community's genuine grief like it's market research data. The contrast is stark and infuriating. While real wrestling fans and wrestlers are mourning a young man's death, WWE is treating their grief as free market research for their exploitation campaigns. They're literally profiting from the authentic emotions of people who actually cared about Dominik. And when wrestling legends like Mick Foley, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Undertaker posted genuine, heartfelt tributes to Dominik, WWE's social media team immediately began planning how to leverage those posts for their own promotional purposes. They wanted to repost the tributes with WWE branding, essentially hijacking legends' genuine grief for corporate promotion. This level of cynicism is breathtaking in its scope and disgusting in its execution. What we're witnessing right now isn't just about one tragic death or one company's inappropriate response. This is about the fundamental soul of professional wrestling and whether it can survive the corporate machine that's trying to consume it. Dominik Mysterio's passing has become a test case for whether WWE has any humanity left, and they're failing that test spectacularly. The wrestling industry is at a crossroads. On one side, you have authentic human emotion, genuine artistry, and real connections between performers and audiences. On the other side, you have corporate algorithms, manufactured drama, and the treatment of human beings as content-generating resources. Liv Morgan's tears aren't just about losing someone she cared about, they're about losing faith in an industry that promised her artistic fulfillment but delivered corporate exploitation. Her grief is real, but it's also symbolic of what's happening to wrestling as a whole. And here's the most infuriating part, WWE knows exactly what they're doing. They're not accidentally being insensitive or unknowingly crossing lines. They're deliberately choosing profit over humanity, market share over morality, and content generation over human decency. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to sit here and let WWE turn a young man's death into a marketing campaign? Are we going to watch them exploit Liv Morgan's grief for ratings? Are we going to allow them to threaten wrestlers who refuse to participate in their sick tribute schemes? Or are we going to fight back? The wrestling community has more power than WWE wants us to believe. We control the viewership numbers. We control the merchandise sales. We control the social media engagement. We control the narrative, and it's time we started acting like it. Stop watching their exploitation programming. Stop buying their grief merchandise. Stop engaging with their manipulative social media campaigns. Start supporting wrestlers who are standing up against this corporate sociopathy. Start demanding better from an industry that can be so much more than what WWE is trying to make it. Dominik Mysterio deserves better than to become a corporate marketing strategy. Liv Morgan deserves better than to have her grief turned into content. The wrestling community deserves better than to be treated like marks in WWE's sick carnival of exploitation. This isn't just about wrestling. This is about basic human decency in an age of corporate psychopathy. This is about whether we're going to allow profit-driven entities to commodify our emotions, our relationships, and our grief. This is about whether we're going to stand up and say, enough, when lines are crossed that should never be crossed. Dominik Mysterio was more than a wrestler. He was a son, a boyfriend, a colleague, and a human being who touched countless lives. He deserves to be remembered with dignity, not exploited for corporate gain. And if WWE won't give him that dignity, then it's up to us to demand it. The wrestling world is watching. The corporate world is watching. History is watching. And what we do next will determine whether professional wrestling maintains its soul or loses it forever to the corporate machine. What are you going to do? Are you going to be complicit in this exploitation, or are you going to fight back? The choice is yours, but choose quickly, because WWE's grief exploitation machine is already in full swing, and every day we wait is another day they profit from tragedy. The wrestling community deserves better. Dominik Mysterio deserves better. And if you agree, then it's time to make your voice heard. Share this video. Comment your thoughts. Let WWE know that their corporate sociopathy won't be tolerated. Because if we don't stand up now, when will we? The time for silence is over. The time for action is now. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.